Odin here, and I just got finished watching The Revenant starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy as Hugh Glass and Fitzgerald, and I gotta say they did an awesome job in their roles, and I can't see anybody else being in an Oscar race other than these two guys in a supporting and leading actor role. Hopefully they'll win, we'll see. Alejandro did a great job directing. It was very seamless. There's not a lot of cuts in this thing, so it was like all like one take shots. And it worked really well for the bear scene, where you see the bear come in, and you see Leonardo DiCaprio's character just getting mauled by this thing, and the teeth and the claws going into him, and him screaming for dear life, just hoping for the situation to go away. And it wasn't, and it lasted for a long time. Also, the pacing of this film was great. Every scene was integral to the plot of the film. The music, there wasn't a lot of music. It was very simple, but effective when there was music. But they used a lot of ambient noises more so than anything else, because you can hear the wind, and you heard like some of the critters in the background, the animals and stuff like that. But you also heard like the creek and the people breathing. I mean, you got to feel how it felt like if you were actually in the woods, living amongst this massive forest and trying to survive. And it just made you feel like you were with that character, being that there wasn't any music and they were just using the sound around him. Now, the only issue I have with this, the only criticism, is the special effects. Some of the special effects wasn't that great. When he was getting mauled by the bear, you kind of can tell that the bear was computer generated. That's the same with some of the animals in the background. They had buffalo and elk and whatnot, and you can kind of see that it wasn't real, but I'll overlook it, because overall this was a good story. And what I'm about to tell you before I get into it is I had some issues with the history that was used in it. A lot of it was true, a lot of this was fact, but if you don't want to hear any more spoilers or anything like that, then don't watch from this point on. But it was a good film overall, so I implore anybody who hasn't seen it, go and see it. So right now, spoilers. Now, the history of this. For a good portion of the story, there is a lot of truth to it. But it's few and far between. I have some issues here. The true story was actually interesting, and I wish they kind of went with that instead of using some of the stuff that they did use in the film. Like, Hugh Glass did go on an expedition to get animal hides, and he did have a Pawnee wife, but he did not have a son to take on the expedition. So that right there, since he didn't have a son that he took on the expedition, it changes a lot of the story right there. It means that Tom Hardy's character, Fitzgerald, did not kill his son in real life. And Fitzgerald and his young companion, he did leave him for dead. He did do that. Taking everything he owned and possessed, but there was no son to leave for dead. Also, the Ree tribe that was basically following Leonardo DiCaprio's character throughout the entire film, they only ran into each other at the very first part. The very first part of that story, where you see the Indians come in and firing at Leonardo DiCaprio and his band of guys that were looking for hides. That happened, and they did get on a boat, and a lot of people died, and they did escape. But the only thing happened there, he was shot in the leg. Hugh Glass was shot in the leg during that whole ordeal. And that was the only time they ran into those bad Indians. Other than that, that was it. But in the film, they were looking for a missing girl from their tribe, and they were basically going around killing people left and right. So that wasn't part of the story. Also, at the very end, there's an end battle between Fitzgerald and Hugh Glass, and of course, Leonardo DiCaprio's character kills, or not really kills, but he has a final showdown, and it's very brutal the way it happened and everything like that. But that didn't happen. What really did happen was Hugh Glass traveled like 200 miles to the nearest fort. When he got there, everybody at that fort was gone, so he ended up going to another fort. And when he got to this fort, he actually stayed there. He met the younger guy that was there that left him for dead, but he kind of said, you know what, I forgive you because you were so young, you were just following orders, but I want to find the actual guy, Fitzgerald, the one who left me for dead. So he ended up going after him, and he found him, but he ended up enlisting in the army. He found him like in a town somewhere, and when he found him, he basically just got his stuff back, and he didn't fight him. He just kind of gave him like a big I can't believe you did what you did, and took his stuff and left him. Because back then, when you joined the army, anybody who killed anybody who was in the army for no reason, you were basically put to death, pretty quick. And I guess Hugh Glass didn't want to do that. And Hugh Glass went on, and he lived happily ever after for like the next 10 years doing what he does. trapping and finding animal hides. So he lived to be at the old age of 50, 52 or something like that, which is, I guess, kind of old back then, but hey, whatever. Anyways, if you guys liked the movie, if you didn't like the movie, tell me what you think below. Thanks for watching my review on The Revenant. Adios.